everybody, welcome back to the Fumble Live. We have a lot to get into. If you were watching yesterday, you know that James Harden was dismissed from the Rockets practice, and then now his trade to the Nets has been finalized, and there's a lot to talk about when it comes to that, so make sure you subscribe, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and share it with your friends. Here's the Fumble Squad. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jackie Ray. You can follow me on all social media at JRayTheFanatic.
Hey, y'all, it's your girl, Britt. You guys can follow me on all social media at I am Britt Johnson.
Okay.
I have to remind you guys of something.
Yes. We were like waiting, like.
We are starting a new segment tomorrow. I mentioned it earlier in the week, but if you missed it, I'm going to tell you guys again. It is called Fan or Foe. It is going to be a segment just for you guys, all of our fans, because we've noticed that, you know, throughout the show, we don't really get to talk to you guys directly as much as we would like to, just kind of in the chat. So we are going to be screenshotting, pulling some of the questions you guys ask or comments you guys make throughout the show from the chat, and we will be answering them every Friday for the Fan or Foe segment, which will take place of Britt's Take just on Friday. So we're still doing Britt's Take, but on Friday it will be the Fan or Foe segment, and it'll be dedicated to you guys. We're going to be talking to you guys, answering some of your questions. So if you guys do have questions, keep them coming. You guys are really good in the chat with, you know, talking to us and asking questions and stuff. But yeah, if you have any certain questions you want us to answer, let us know in the chat. We'll pick some of our favorite ones, and we will talk about them tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in on Friday, every Friday, for Fan or Foe.
Can we just say, unless you're in the 6th grade, there was that kid that was in the 6th grade and supposed to be in there paying attention to his teacher on Zoom when he's watching us. Can we just disclaimer that?
Right.
No 6th graders.
Right. If you're in class, then you just have to watch us on the replay, okay? Do not watch us live. Pay attention to class, because this airs after. You can watch it after the fact, but you can still ask questions. Just head to our comment section, ask us questions there, and we can answer them on Fan or Foe for you guys. But pay attention in class first.
Yes.
I want to address one thing, that we are highlighting chat comments and like chats from all week, not just on Fridays. So we're collecting them throughout the week to talk about in Fan or Foe Friday, so you don't have to save all of your snarky or intelligent remarks for our Friday show. You can say it throughout the week. All week long, and if we like it and if it's compelling, then it may end up in Fan or Foe. So just to clarify that, because I saw people saying, I saw Mamba say that he has stuff that he wants to say on Friday, but say it now.
Oh, say it now.
Don't keep quiet.
Because Friday we're not taking any questions. Friday will just be the stuff that we've collected throughout the week. So Friday, you don't get no new questions, y'all. Your questions might be in the following week's one, but it won't be in that week's one. So yeah. Good clarification, Dev.
All right, you guys. Well, let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets, because it was a big day yesterday, and there's drama that is still unfolding going into today, and I'm sure well into the next few weeks as well. So James Harden is officially on the Brooklyn Nets roster. He's joining KD and Kyrie. I mean, maybe Kyrie. We'll be talking about him in just second. The Nets sent a bunch of draft picks and some solid role players to Houston to get James Harden. And now the big question that everybody has is, will these superstars, these three big egos, be able to work together? Are they going to be able to share the ball and the spotlight? There is a lot of skepticism about this. So let's first discuss Kyrie, because he is already potentially or not even potentially showing, he is already showing some problematic behavior. He's been away from the team for a week due to personal reasons, and at first we all thought that might be, he wanted to sit out in protest of the social justice issues that we're facing as a country. But then when we saw him at that family birthday party over the weekend without a mask on, it seemed like maybe his intentions weren't to protest, and it was more just to hang out with his family. Like Britt mentioned when we initially discussed this, Alex Caruso missed his own sister's wedding when he was in the bubble because he had to isolate in order to play the game. So it's just kind of a measure of, what's important to you. I realize that family birthday parties are very special, but in this instance, gathering in a large group is not advised anywhere in the country except for maybe Florida. But even then, I don't think that you should be gathering in a large group. I didn't mean to throw shade at Florida there. I know we've got John in the chat, and he's in Miami, so I apologize for that. But sometimes Florida just does crazy things. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. So new reports also came out claiming that Kyrie is very agitated with the Nets front office because they didn't consult him on the hiring of Steve Nash. If there is truth to that rumor, then he's clearly holding a grudge right now, and he's ghosting the team thanks to his dissatisfaction with their head coach hiring. We also talked about yesterday in Britt's takes how he may just be ready to throw in the towel and retire. So now James Harden is on the team. He is a seriously strong player, but if we're judging him based on his performance this season, he hasn't really been putting in 100%. And it could be because he was playing with a team that he was absolutely miserable on. We knew he wanted to leave, so he just didn't want to give it his all. But if this is an indication of how he's going to be for the rest of the season, he may not be as valuable of an asset as he once was. Also, this shows, a lack of leadership on his part. And when he's joining these two other superstars, being a leader is going to be a good thing. Okay, so let's discuss. So I just got into a lot of information there. We're going to be diving deep into some more of this later on in the show as well. But the big questions are, will these guys be able to play together? Are they going to be able to share the ball? Will Kyrie even come back? If they can work together, they'll be great. They'll be a force to be reckoned with. They're going to just dominate the East. But if they can't get on the same page, they'll be in bad shape. So, Jackie, do you think that Kyrie will be more motivated to work with Steve Nash now that he has another superstar in James Harden to play with him, or is that going to be less motivation for him to play with the Nets because he's going to have to share the ball with more than one superstar now?
So I'm going to kind of get into the Kyrie and what I think is going on with him and what we're not going to do. But we don't know, to be honest, what's going on with Kyrie. I will say this, though. KD and Kyrie, they played 6 games together and they were 3-3. So it wasn't like, and they're in the East. So if they were supposed to be the second coming of whatever, like everybody thought, they should have been better than 3-3. And they didn't lose to really good teams. They lost to the Hawks. They lost to the Bulls, and they lost to Washington, who's out here struggling, so they're not losing to really good teams. So it wasn't rainbows and sunshines going into this moment in time. So I don't know how you expect it to be rainbows and sunshine when you're literally bringing in a thunderstorm, and he's already proven who he is and how he feels about the situation. I've heard a bunch of different rumors about why James Harden said what he said. I heard that he said it because he knew the deal was already done, and he just wanted to make it go a little faster. That's a level of disrespect that's completely unnecessary. If you knew the deal was already in the works, you didn't have to go out there and shade your team like that. You just didn't have to do that. And like I said yesterday, you still are overlooking the fact that James Harden is the common denominator why things did not work in Houston. Unless he is suddenly going to go on Ayanna Fix My Life and become an entirely different person, I don't see this being that much different in Brooklyn. I don't think we're going to see anything different from James Harden than what we've seen thus far. Yes, he'll probably go back to his normal little scoring prowess, but what does that look like? What does that look like with KD having the same scoring prowess? Like you said, how are they going to move the ball around? And it's not a matter of talent for me at this point. It's a matter of, can they get out of their own way? Can they be coached properly? Will they allow themselves to be coached properly? There's a big question mark for me on that one right now. I don't know, but if I'm going to judge these 3 men based on what I've seen thus far, I'm going to say this isn't going to work.
Yeah. I mean, I've had my doubts from day one, for sure. Britt, I want to kind of ask you that same thing. Do you think this can work, or will there be too many egos in one place?
This isn't going to work, and I said it yesterday as well. I said I do not believe he should go to the Brooklyn Nets. Number one, because I don't think Steve Nash is, obviously this is his first year as a head coach. I don't think he's seasoned enough to handle that many egos on one team. 2, I don't think the team is seasoned enough to deal with that same situation because, again, already this was the first year of Kevin Durant and Kyrie playing together, and now you're throwing James Harden in that mix too. I actually spoke with a NBA assistant coach yesterday, and his thought was the only way that this could even kind of work and the best fit for Brooklyn in this moment would be if James Harden came off the bench. And why would you pay a guy $40 million to come off the bench? You just don't do that. Like, they already – and then getting rid of Karis LeVert was a huge issue too, to me, in my eyes, because that would have been your bench if you would have had that same situation stay. You could have brought him off the bench, and he drops at least 20 a night. Like, he's been averaging about 19 points a game this season. He's playing really well. And to get rid of him, who's your bench now? Who do you guys go to when these three guys are not connecting, because they're not going to connect with each other? And none of these guys are going to want to come off the bench in the first place. Let's start there. But two, one of them has to, because like the assistant coach I talked to, he was like, there ain't enough balls on the court to have these three guys playing at the same time.
Or two,
and that was
depending on how you look at it.
Right. Like, they're just so big. And it just wouldn't work. It doesn't make sense. Like, it worked. I get that it worked with the Warriors. You had three guys that were all shooters that were able to play together, but this isn't the same team. This is a guy or a team full of egos. Kevin Durant didn't even work that well with the Warriors as expected because of his ego and because of that moment. But Steph and Clay were able to be like, okay, we can play whatever you want us to do. Katie, it's your team, like, because they just wanted to win. But I don't see that here. I don't know. I just think this is so bad, like, on so many levels. And then to address your point earlier, Devin, about Kyrie now being mad that Steve Nash wasn't consulted. The whole thing we talked about at the very beginning was Kevin Durant and Kyrie wanted Steve Nash to be the coach. That's why he was the coach. And then they talked about bringing the assistant guy in. So I feel like all of it's kind of rumors. Who knows what's true of what? Like, did Kyrie and Katie really want Steve Nash there? Okay, now we're hearing Kyrie didn't want that or whatever. Like, it's just like every day it's a different story. That organization is going to now be what the Houston Rockets were. So the common denominator is now going to carry off to Brooklyn, and Brooklyn's going to have all these problems this season. I just don't see this airing out well, because it's not about the talent. They have a limited amount of talent on that team for sure. Like, even, DJ's still a good player, at center and stuff like that. But like, bringing this team together, it's just not a team. I just don't see them as a team, if that makes sense. I don't think they're going to play well together.
And to Britt's point too, the reason why it worked in Golden State is because Steve Kerr had already cultivated that culture there. You were walking into a system that already worked. So you couldn't come in here with your ego. This is what we do here. They were already established. They knew who they were as the team. The Nets have no clue who they are as a team. They're still trying to figure it out. And all the pieces haven't been there long enough for them to know. So no, I mean, yeah, if they were already in an established situation, then now you can come in and say, this is your role. But now you've got three guys that are probably going to walk up to Steve Nash and tell them what they think their roles should be. This is an impossible situation for him to be in, and I just don't think he has the experience to work through it. Bless his heart. Pray for Steve Nash. We should make that a hashtag, pray for Steve Nash, because it's going to be difficult.
Right now. I'm right here.
I know. Poor Steve Nash is navigating some very, very, very choppy waters right now. I know that reporters were talking to him after they were talking, I forget when it was, but I saw these interviews happen, and he's like, I can't even comment on anything right now. Mm-hmm. But we're diving more into the Kyrie stuff and what we're not going to do, so stay tuned for that. Jackie's going to be breaking it down for us. But now let's discuss, we've already kind of established that at this point the Nets don't really seem like they're going to be this super team in the East that we thought they would be. Of course, things could change, but right now with how much turmoil there is behind the scenes, they don't seem like they're going to be a major threat. So let's talk about the Rockets. Jackie, what do you think the future looks like for the Rockets? What are your expectations for them as a team? Do they need to find another star for John Wall? Are they going to just work with what they have?
I think they need to ride this train right now. You know what I mean? Like, it's an interesting situation that they're in. I think John Wall, like I said yesterday, I think he's proven himself to be a leader in the situation. They got Victor Oladipo, which that just made my heart smile to know that they got Victor Oladipo, because I've been saying for a long time, Victor Oladipo is kind of wasting away with the Indiana Pacers. No disrespect to them, but he just wasn't a good fit over there. So now he's over here in Houston. He's someplace that he probably, And he's not a James Harden or a Kyrie who's going to sit and pout and be like, I want out. He's not going to do that. He's a professional. He was going to ride that train until he couldn't ride that train anymore, and he was going to handle that professionally. So I think this is really the universe saying, hey, we see you. We're not going to let you ride away over here. We're going to get you over to Houston. I think they should really ride this train out and see what they have. Don't pull the trigger right away. You just shipped dysfunction off. Let's see what we have as far as the talent here. You know what I mean? Like, don't import some new dysfunction once you just got rid of the dysfunction. Ride it out with what you have. John Wall has already proven himself to be a leader. He's already called out things in his past that he knows he had to grow from, and he did. He's already called out, like, hey, we've got to get better as a team. We saw Boogie and his irritation with what James Harden had said. I think that those guys, you focus in on what you have. You know, that's that saying, you don't always look for what you think you want. You work with what you got. And I think if you can build these guys up, regardless how far you get, you can create an atmosphere that's going to work. You can get to the end of the season. If you don't go as far as you want, you can say, okay, but these are the pieces that really work well here. These are the pieces we can build on. This is the culture we want. Let's work around these guys. But I think you ride this one out for right now.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how everything works out if they don't make any other major changes. Britt, what do you think the Rockets need to do to overcome the loss of their superstar in James Harden? Are they going to be okay without him?
Absolutely. I think they're going to be better for it. And just because you saw how hungry all the other guys on the team looked, how kind of upset they were about like James Harden and the comments that he made, and like Boogie said, the disrespect started before that interview. Like he's already been saying the disrespect in the situation, and I think these guys are now going to play with a chip on their shoulder. I never ever take out the underdog in situations, because those are the teams that kind of come through in moments like that. This is literally the Miami Heat from last year, or the OKC Thunder, who nobody gave a chance, and now they're going to come out and surprise all of us. And it is a squad that's like, I think it's like almost built around dogs now. You have like Boogie Cousins, who's been fighting through injuries and all of these kind of things throughout his career, and he's just like trying to prove himself. You have John Wall, hasn't played for 2 years, in this moment now going to be probably the face of this organization. He's trying to prove himself again, you know, like he's been paid all this money for all this time and hasn't played any basketball, and now he's in this moment of trying. Victor Oladipo, we're talking about a guy that just a couple years ago was most improved player. He is always fighting for that spot, even though he was like a top draft pick back when he was drafted, 2012, 2013, whatever. Like, he did not initially become the player we thought he was going to be, and he kind of had to fight his way back up to that spot to getting the most improved. I think that must have been like 2 years ago. It wasn't even that long ago. And then the following season, like Jackie said, he's kind of been not used and utilized properly with the Pacers. So I think coming into this situation, it's a moment for him to start over, start new. He's still a young player. And I think all of that, like Karis LeVert, same thing, like coming into a situation where, you know, you were doing well with the Nets, and then you get kind of like pushed out in this situation and bring in James Harden. Everybody knows that situation isn't going to work. All this, everything that's building Houston now is like literally what you end up seeing in championship teams later on. This is a 30 for 30 in a couple years, you know, like we're going to see this probably, maybe not this year. This year might be a figuring it out kind of year, but I think this team is honestly going to grow and be like a championship contender in the next couple years, just because now the energy in that locker room can be built on like, hey, we grimy, we're fighting it out. We're going to do whatever we can to prove everybody wrong.
Right.
Yeah, they're going into their future games with a chip on their shoulder. So I think it'll be fun to watch. I feel like they want to prove something, and it'll be exciting to see how they're able to succeed in doing that. And then, Britt, one final question for you. So we know that James Harden was obviously bringing the team down when he was on the Rockets because he was so miserable there. Do you think that this toxicity that he was displaying is something that he's going to be bringing to the Nets, or was it just circumstantial because he was just unhappy in Houston?
I think when he first goes to the Nets, he's going to like seem like he's like, yeah, guys, let's do this. We're about to win something. But once everybody's egos come back into play and they start realizing there can only be one star, or we're just going to play all as a team together, then there's going to be issues that will be had, and it'll be the same thing all over again. Obviously, we have to wait to see what Kyrie does. I think if Kyrie does not return, it actually will be better for the Nets as far as like this team and how this team's going to work. But if Kyrie gets back in action, so one of them, somebody got to come off the bench. You cannot have all those guys in at the same time. Like, and granted, yes, everybody can still play whatever 28 plus minutes, but you can't have them on the court at the same time. It just won't work. It doesn't make sense. So, yeah, I don't know how they're going to figure it out, but I think that he's going to start off, high energy. He better, like, this is what he asked for. But again, he's asked for other things before and gotten them and still been salty. So, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie, I know you said that you view James Harden as this common denominator for, teams that aren't finding this, or I guess a team that's not finding the success that he hopes they will have. So do you have anything to add about this? Do you think that his toxicity is just a personality trait, or is it more of a circumstantial thing?
I think it's just the nature of people. I think rarely do you get a situation where you move one person out of a situation into another and they're this entirely different person. They might go into my pastor used to say, there's no point in you moving across the world because you're taking the problem with you if you go. You need to figure out who you are and you need to change who you are. And James Harden, again, and I like James Harden, so this kind of stings for me to say this, but the reality of it is Houston bet the farm on him. They gave him everything that he wanted. Anything he asked for, he got. So regardless of what he thinks about the owner, the fact of the matter is they treated him like he was God. He was the king of Houston. That's how they treated him. He's not going to get that treatment in Brooklyn. So if you were treated like a king in Houston and you didn't feel like it could be fixed, how are you going to feel when you go to Brooklyn and you're just treated like regular, you didn't win the MVP, James Harden? How is your ego going to, withstand that? So I just don't know how that looks for him. I don't know how that works for him. I don't see him. I feel like it's going to be exactly like Britt. First and foremost, he got to concentrate on losing a little bit of weight. So his teammates will help him with that and they'll all bond together over that. But then once he feels like he's back in tip-top shape and he's James Harden, king of the world, it's going to be a problem. I hope I'm wrong, but it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, we are over time on Need to Know News. So, Jackie, take us into the post-up. I know you have some good stuff for us today, so I'm excited.
I do. I have some fun stuff. We're going to laugh a lot on this post-up. Y'all saw Leo sneak previewed it for you guys. Y'all saw the title because Houston strippers, they have a problem. This is the funny side of James Harden that I really kind of like because he, a Twitter user posted this meme that basically said, this is how strippers are looking right now. If you can see, we circled it for you right there. James Harden liked it. He knew that was actually correct. There's a lot of strippers right now that are counting on that stimulus check because they're not going to get that James Harden money. So this is a situation. I love this next one with this meme where he puts our boy in there with the face that says, "Ugh, this is Houston strippers like right now. Like, do I have to go back to school for real and get a real job? Do I got to work 9 to 5?" Like a lot of strippers right now are counting. They budget and they trying to figure it out. I don't know anything about strip clubs in Brooklyn, but I would guarantee you, if you guys have the means, open one or create you an app where you can get strippers on the go or something. Like, just give me some money if that's what you name it, so y'all can send them to James Harden, get some of these women paid. All right, so look, this next one, first of all, y'all keep making these fat James Harden memes, and I think they are hilarious, but take a look at this one with WWE legend Mark Henry. He is the one that typically gets the James Harden fat jokes. But he says he doesn't mind it. He says he thinks it's all in fun, but he did say one thing. He said James Harden wishes he was this fine, which I think is hilarious that he told that to Scoop B. And one user agrees. He says, hey, you know what? That's all fun and games, but y'all better quit playing with Mark Henry out here. He says the energy would be totally different in person. They better stop playing with Big Mark like that. That's probably true. He probably laid the smack down, but this next one was funny. He says Mark Henry is legit better looking than James Harden. So can we just put this back up there really quick, Leo? Because I know we had this debate over Tom and Drew. Who's better looking? Is it James Harden
Jackie, who
Devin,
are you
you
going to
first.
say?
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm tapping out.
I'm taking James Harden. I'm taking James Harden
Okay.
100%.
Britt, who are you going for?
I'll take James too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think if he lost the weight, Mark would be the better if he lost the weight. But as it stands right now, James Harden is the better looker.
No, because I even think if James got fat, James would still look better.
I'm with
But
Britt.
see, I think
well, he's more like Ricky Rose, you know.
But the thing is maybe I just have the picture in my head that I think a lot of people don't, and that is James Harden without the beard. And I know he can't go in between beard or no beard because he looks like a strange individual without the beard. Whereas I think Mark can go in and out of the beard. He's got a more versatile look. But I have no vote in this because I don't care. Neither one of them is my type. So whoever y'all pick is who we going with.
She's just like old Drew Brees. That's her type. 70-year-old Drew Brees.
Because he looks like he would take care of me. That's why. Oh my goodness.
James Harden takes care of people. James Harden took care of strippers in Houston for years.
I don't strip though, Devin. I don't strip. So he has absolutely no interest in me. None. And I know this. So that's why. All right. So look, I don't know if you guys are on Instagram and follow all the Laker Nation Instagrams that I do, but Dennis Schroeder said that he thinks this is the first team that he's played on that has an equal amount of fun and professionalism. I think that's super dope. And we talked about how much that chemistry is. So I saw some of you guys acting like what is the reaction from LeBron James on this? His reaction is the same as mine. We don't care nothing about this dysfunction that's about to happen in Brooklyn, but I'll let y'all hear it for yourself.
Don't really have too much of a reaction. Obviously trades and things happen every year. And, for me, my main focus on what we do here and how we continue to get better. And that was the case today. The trades happened today, and I couldn't allow myself to kind of indulge in that, knowing that we had a team that we had to play tonight. So my main focus today was on the Thunder.
Yeah, we don't care. I mean, look, the people who should really care about this trade are Brooklyn Nets fans. Y'all should care to see how this one plays out. But they have to ask all the superstars. So after the Clippers game, they asked Paul George a similar question. And of course, he had a similar, first of all, if any player was like, oh my God, I don't know what we're going to do, you should probably try to trade that player because you don't want nobody scary on your team, first and foremost. But Paul George had a similar reaction. Take a look.
Of 3 stars, James being sent to Brooklyn and what they're trying to do out there. Do you look down the road?
It ain't got nothing to do with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, period. Why? First of all, why do y'all all ask the same questions? We've talked about this time and time again. There is an answer that they should give. You guys are hoping that they're not going to give that answer. Britt, how do you feel about this question just in general? Every single player that's a star being asked what they think about what's going on in Brooklyn. How do you feel about that?
So it's kind of funny because are you going to talk about what Steph Curry said about it? Because I can read his little thing if you're not.
No.
Okay, I'm going to read because it's interesting because everybody else in the league basically said what, Paul George and what LeBron said. And then even when Kevin Durant was asked about it, he's like, I'm not going to comment until it's official. He didn't want to say anything either. But Steph Curry says this. He says, pretty crazy. I know in this league, nothing should surprise you. And there's been a lot of blockbuster trades the last 4, 5, 6 years. But it's just crazy to know that when it actually happens, the landscape of the league shifts immediately. And obviously, KD being out here with the team that we had, and now with Kyrie and James, it's going to be pretty interesting to watch that come together. So he was like, he already believes the power shift is moving towards the East, and
that is a terrible comment. That is an awful comment.
Yeah, why would he say that?
All of that. Steph said all of that.
That's team light skin. That's what happens. They say stuff like that. They get scared. Devin doesn't understand the phrase, but Britt knows what I'm saying. I'm scared. I would be, if I was Steve Kerr, I'd be like, if you don't come over, bring your little scary behind over here, and let me have a conversation. Boy,
sit back and be quiet.
Before you get in your high chair and before you get this whooping, I would be clowning him. Oh God, I almost low key wish. I wish you hadn't read that, because now I'm like, Steph. Every time I see him, I'm like, no, scary ass. I can't stand you. Anywho, let me go on. Because Eli was apparently just taking a stroll and he was walking around and he posted who he happened to run into, which, first of all, he said, I was just out for a little stroll today and look where I ended up and who I ran into. And then boom, he posted this. This is great for Giants fans because here we go with Victor Cruz and Eli Manning. But, you know, of course this is staged, because who just happens to walk into MetLife Stadium and then Victor Cruz just happens to be, I don't know what y'all was doing, but this whole, I was just on a leisurely stroll. Stop it, Eli. But thank you for giving New York Giants fans some nostalgia, because clearly they needed it. So good for you guys. Now listen, ladies, I don't often give dating advice, but I'm going to give a little bit right now. If your man is going to say anything remotely close to this, and you already know it's true, so when somebody asks you and you say it for him, maybe think about getting a new man, or at least having somebody on the side who treats you a little bit better. So check out Chad Johnson and what he says is life in all of his relationships.
Dynamic in relationships where...
What relationship? What are you talking about?
Man and women. Or, you know,
listen,
man, woman, woman. You know what I mean?
I'm going to stop you right here. Because
relationships.
When any woman comes into my life, baby, what comes first?
Ooh. Okay.
Nothing else needs to be said by you. Thank you.
FIFA, soccer, really? Look, there was only one comment on this Instagram post, and it was the perfect reaction. Couldn't say, child, please. I'm not entertaining any of this. I'm not entertaining none of this. That was the only comment. I cannot. That just had me. I was like, is he serious right now? But sounds like Chad's girlfriend needs a relationship doctor. This is not the doctor that I would personally send her to. I would send her to a licensed relationship doctor. But, you know, if you like a lot of yelling, a lot of conjecture, a lot of like sources told me, then this might be the love doctor for you. Take a look.
Let me explain my attire for a second. When someone calls you a doctor, this is how you expect them to dress. Don't expect that from me on my new show, though. Because when the love doctor shows up, ladies, aren't you tired of your man prioritizing sports over you? And the love doctor will fix your situation. I promise. Sign up now at ESPNplus.com.
I ain't even ever heard of Stephen A. in a relationship. I'm not entirely sure he's qualified to give advice, but you know, there was a lot of people that were confused by the situation, but I had to pick the best comment because Fat Jesus, y'all, out here winning. And he said, I could use a doctor for this freaking gastrointestinal showstopper playing out in my gut right now. And somebody clapped back and said, good God, take it easy on the sauce, Fat Jesus. But unless you're going to help Fat Jesus, because that could be a relationship problem. I don't want to get into details, but I dated a guy who had that problem. That could be a relationship problem. So that could be something that Stephen A. could work on. But I just don't see, Britt, would you take relationship advice from Stephen A. Smith? You agreed with him yesterday. Would you take relationship advice? Or maybe he could hook you up with, you know, one of your guys, because you know he know everybody in the league.
He has their personal phone numbers, but yeah. No,
yeah.
Stephen A. Okay, if he's giving advice on how to keep your girl quiet and in the house and privacy around your relationship, yes, because ain't nobody, like you said, ever seen Stephen A's significant other. And apparently he does have a wife. People have talked about it off and on, like, or he has a woman that he lives with, or he has kids.
For real? I didn't know that.
that he's had like, you know, a woman, like somebody said one time they saw him at an event and it was like a lady and she had a wedding ring on and it was supposed to be his wife, but nobody got a picture of sis. Like nobody's ever seen any. I don't know. So I don't know what Stephen A's relationship situation is, and I think that's great. So if you're giving advice on that and on how to get these athletes to, you know, talk to a girl that's not out in these streets, I'm here for it. But am I going to ask for advice, Stephen A? Absolutely not, because I also do not want to be the hidden girlfriend.
Right. If Stephen A has a wife, if Stephen A has a wife, I'm just going to have to guess that she's related to Manti Te'o's girlfriend, because I don't know if I believe that. I don't know. They're cousins in some way, but okay, Stephen A, we'll see how you do. I'm definitely gonna be watching this because I think he's going to ruin a lot of relationships. But this next one, if y'all thought that was a head scratcher, this one is. I laughed when I first heard it, but then I thought maybe that was an inappropriate reaction to this, because the level of supremacy and privilege you have has to be astronomical if you feel so entitled to storm the Capitol and be part of a racist attack if you have 2 Olympic gold medals sitting at home. I don't understand this at all. But this is Mr. Keller. He is a championship swimmer. Some of you guys probably know him because he was on a relay team with Michael Phelps, and they won 2 gold medals together. So this is crazy to me. What's also funny is he was identified by his teammates and coaches. They were like, oh, hold on, wait a minute. That's him. Okay, but that's not even the funniest part about this. But before I get to that, let me tell you about this user, because I agree with this user 100% as far as what should happen, because they stripped Usain Bolt of his medal. So this user says, strip the medal just like y'all did Usain Bolt when his teammate got caught doping. They stripped everybody on that team. I think they should definitely do that, which I really like Michael Phelps, but you know, it is what it is. The rules is rules, people. So I definitely agree with this user. But here is the funniest part of this situation, y'all. He went in there with his Olympic jacket. Why? I'm sorry. Why would you? That'd be like me walking in there with a Fumble Live shirt. Why would you do that? That makes absolutely no sense. Everybody's gonna see it. At least people who recognize it. I don't like this. He's 38, so I don't think he would ever try to compete again. But I definitely think the Olympics should make sure he can never compete or even coach in the Olympics. But he's facing a whole bunch of charges. I don't know what to do with this. Devin, I don't know what to do with this. I just don't.
I mean,
what do you think
this guy needs to like go to jail. I mean, this is, first of all, you have to be completely idiotic and so dumb to storm the Capitol wearing your medal. You're so easily identified. Like, to me, it's just, how idiotic are you? And also, this is illegal. This was a violation of a federal building. Go to jail, lose your medal. Stupid, dumb, have no words. It just dumb.
I'm just saying, like, y'all know, if y'all gonna commit a crime of any sort, just watch some crime TV first. That's all I'm gonna say. Don't walk in there with your Olympic jacket. Wear a mask. Technically, we're in a pandemic. You should have been wearing a mask anyway. It'd have been harder to identify you. That's number one. Number two, your Olympic, my guy.
I know.
I would visit him in jail with a fake Olympic jacket on and be like, do you recognize it? Do you know what this is? I'd be so petty. Y'all pray for me. I'm going to try not to be so petty. But speaking of petty, one of the things I hate, we've talked about this on the show a lot, is when people burn their jerseys because somebody has moved on and is deciding to do what's best for them. So to combat that, I really commend the owners of iCar Wash in Houston. They made a statement to their IG page saying, we lost some memorable players like Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook. We had a good team. He forced them off because he didn't want to share the ball, and now he's making us pay for it. And then they posted this to their little sign out front. So when it goes, it says, bring your, Harden jerseys in for a free car wash, which I think is cool. And then they also showed an exchange where a woman actually came in and did it, and you see her giving them the jerseys, and then they put it in a trash can. This is the part that I like, because they're not burning them, they're not doing anything, no word yet on what they're doing with them, but I'm hoping that maybe they're donating them or doing something positive with them other than burning them. So I'm just going to stay on top of this one, because I really like to see that they weren't burning them. And I also think it's weird to just give up your jersey like that, because I still wear my Cavs LeBron jersey. I still wear my Heat LeBron jersey, but maybe that's just because of my fandom. But that's weird to me. Britt, do you think that they might do something good with these jerseys?
I hope so. They could even use them for, because they have a lot of situations with the hurricanes and stuff down in Houston. Mm-hmm. And I remember what my college did was we donated like a bajillion pounds of like jeans that you wear, and they use them for insulation in the homes when they're rebuilding the homes. And they did that after like Hurricane Katrina and stuff. So I'm like, maybe hopefully they put them to good use, and you know, they can always like recycle them and change them into like material that, you know, can be used for good. So let's hope they do something like that.
Yeah, I'm hoping, because it looked like
just something.
I am. Yeah, I am, because it looked like the way they were taking them, it looked like they did have a plan for them. So I'm going to stay on top of it, and hopefully we'll check back and see that they were doing something good. But that's what we got for Post Up. So now let's get into what we not gonna do. I promised y'all we were gonna talk about Kyrie, and I shall deliver, because there is so much speculation going around him and what he's doing. But there's just rumors flying around about this whole thing. I've heard that the comments that James Harden made was because he knew that a deal was in the works and he wanted to push the trade. Then I heard that he made those comments because he knew that there was some dysfunction between the Nets and Kyrie, and then he wanted to force their hand and be like, hey, Kyrie's not working out, come pick me. So I don't really know. The second one doesn't sound as plausible, but the first one sounds so disrespectful. So I don't know which one is which, but I know this whole thing gets on my nerves. Like I said, Stephen A. Smith and even Britt said Kyrie should probably consider retiring, that maybe he was at the point in his life where basketball just didn't mean as much to him. People were also pissed because he was on that social initiative Zoom call. Like, they forgot that the man is in the middle of COVID protocols anyway. He might as well use his time productively. People make up all kinds of stories about Kyrie and what they should think he should do. And the truth is, none of us, not one person who has said anything about what's going on in Brooklyn, what's going on in Kyrie, nobody has a clue what's going on in his mind. And it's getting to me, you guys. It really is. Case in point, I want y'all to look at this Twitter profile pic of Tommy D. Okay, so now in his profile pic, he says that he is an Emmy award-winning writer, journalist, whatever, and that he has direct contacts to NBA executives. You will note, though, he does not have a check mark. I would think if you won an Emmy, you get a check mark. I don't know. I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying I don't know this dude. I ain't never heard of this dude before in my life. But he took to Twitter without his little check mark and all, and he said, I am told he's, as in Kyrie, has been furious at the organization for some time for not giving him more input on the head coach hiring. He was not in favor of Steve Nash. Also, his relationship with Kevin Durant has been described as very distant recently. Really? That's a lot. Who told you this, sir? Which I did tweet him that, and he did not tweet back. Who told you this? I agree with this user who said, I don't think any person who just read what you tweeted believed that. That's what I thought, because you're not naming nobody. This is crazy. But then here comes the people who just love the gossip, even with no verifiable facts. They was like, oh no, that makes sense, because look at Steve Nash here with Donald Trump back in that's gotta be like the 80s? He's not even orange yet. Donald Trump's not even orange yet. So this picture is very, very old. This is probably before we even knew who Donald Trump was. And then this next user goes in and says something similar that says, that they feel like this is true because they tried to tell everybody. He says, this is who he is. Us Cavs and Celtics fans were warning the Nets for months, and they claimed he was misunderstood. This is who Kyrie is. Good luck, Brooklyn. You don't know who Kyrie, you ain't never met Kyrie in your life. You do not know who Kyrie is. So What we not gonna do is pretend that all of this is anything more than conjecture. Kyrie, you need to start talking because you haven't said anything. I went to his Twitter. His last Twitter post was from October 1st, 2020. And that was when he addressed the situation where we all thought that he was trying to throw shade and call LeBron a bad teammate. And he said, I was just talking, don't pit brother against brother. Let's just, let people live. And then the next thing he posted was this to his IG. And it was either later that evening or the very next morning. He posted this after the attack on Washington. And he says, now it's time to deceive and misinform the youth about what is happening in the house, meaning our world. Now it's time to pretend like God, the ancestors, Mother Earth, have not seen what has been happening in the house, again, our world. So we all know that Kyrie is very sensitive to these types of issues. So that made sense. And I think that's why we all, again, even myself included, threw out some conjecture that, this must be why he is taking a beat, because this probably affects him. I'm not mad at that if that's what it is. But the truth is, nobody, even myself, really knows what's going on with him. And then just 3 days ago, of course, he posted this picture and other pictures with himself and his dad celebrating, his dad's birthday. And then, of course, that led to the birthday party and all of that good stuff, which caused him to be in quarantine. But Kyrie, what we're not going to do is not put all of this on you. And I hate it, but this is all your fault. Every speculation, every person that says, I've been told and it hasn't been by you, or sources say and they don't name their sources, this is all your fault. Yesterday, Britt said, maybe you're not talking because if you say anything, that's going to be conceived one way. It's time to get over that if that's why you're not talking, because now we just out here making up stuff, like completely just making up stuff. And I don't know if it infuriates you, but it infuriates me to see people just making up things as they go along. Tommy D, I don't want to throw any shade at your Emmy in your bio, but as far as I know, your source could be Fat Jesus. I don't know who you're talking to right now, and you did not say that. And that is ridiculous. If you're going to say that you've been told, at this point, when you're talking about someone's life and you're talking about their future, you need to start naming people, because otherwise none of us know what's going on in his mind, in his heart, in his soul, in his spirit. We just don't know. So Kyrie, please help me help you. I'm out here pulling for you, rooting for you. I need you to help me help you. Say something. If you don't say it on your social media, DM me and I will say Kyrie said. That way we can all know what it is, exactly what you want to do, exactly what's going on in your mind. And you can stop people from making stuff up because it's getting old. Okay? I don't want people to continue to tell your story. You're a very intelligent man. You're very, very grounded in what's going on in the world around you. I know you have a story to tell, so please just tell it. Thank you. Okay, that's all I have to say about that. Let me get my girl Devin up here because it's about that time. She got her water bottle ready. I already know. I can feel it in my spirit. See? Watch it. Boom! Told you. Because now it's time for Britt's take.
Britt's takes.
All right, guys, it is time for the final Britt's take of the week. Remember, tomorrow we are doing fan or foe in place of Britt's take. So make sure you continue with your guys' questions. You guys have been doing an awesome job with your questions, comments. I can't wait to read some of these and address you guys with them tomorrow on fan or foe. But as I, prepared for my last one, I noticed that there was a lot of news yesterday, and it was all surrounded with the Brooklyn Nets and the James Harden trade. There was something that slipped in yesterday, though, and I wanted to make sure we did not miss that. And I wanted to talk about our Britt's take today because this is something huge to me, and it's something that literally made me really upset. I kind of was floored when I heard the news. Granted, I wasn't that floored when I heard the James Harden news. I thought we knew something was going to happen as we were ending the show yesterday. We thought it was going to happen immediately right away. Within an hour or two, it did happen. But something slipped in that nobody really noticed. And Alabama got a new offensive coordinator. And I I just saw a headline that said Alabama new offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien, and I was like, wait, this must be a different Bill O'Brien, because the Bill O'Brien that I know was the Bill O'Brien that was the head coach and GM for the Houston Texans, who got fired after week 5 because he started the season 0-4 and was fired in beginning of October of this last season because he did some crazy thing. Like, what was that crazy thing he did? Oh, yes. He decided to trade DeAndre Hopkins and a 4th-round pick in order to get David Johnson and a 2nd-round pick from 2020 and then a 4th-round pick in 2021. David Johnson, the running back, decent running back, yeah, okay, and then you just get a 2nd-round pick and then a 4th-round pick, and then you gave up DeAndre Hopkins, the guy that's like top 3 receiver in the league. Not that Bill O'Brien, right? Can't be that Bill O'Brien. Well, guys, yes, it was that Bill O'Brien. So we know Steve, who was the offensive coordinator at Bama, he ended up taking a head coaching job at Texas. Congrats to him on that head coaching job. Obviously, well-deserved. Bama has been killing it. The Nick Saban era, which Nick Saban has been head coach there for 14 seasons. In the last 15 years, they've won 6 championships, national titles. He has literally turned that program around because prior to that, they hadn't won anything in a while. So he is, as you would say, the godfather of college football coaching, and he's had, I believe, 6 or 7 offensive coordinators under him. A lot of them have went on to now run their own programs or do things in the NFL. So if you coach under him, you are able to get opportunities because he has won 6 national titles in the last 15 years. Bill O'Brien was not a terrible head coach, especially at the start of his season. Before he became a head coach in the NFL, he coached 2 years at Penn State. His first year coaching at Penn State, he had won ESPN Coach of the Year. He won Big Ten Coach of the Year. This was back in 2012. He, after that season, was offered several head coaching jobs and decided not to take any of them because he said he wasn't trying to be just one and done as a head coach in football. So he stayed at Penn State another year. And then he took the job with the Houston Texans in 2014. His first couple seasons had winning seasons. First year, though, they did not make it to the playoffs. Second year, they won the AFC South. Lost in the playoffs and lost in the playoffs, and then continued to lose in the playoffs. In his 4th season, had his worst record at 4-12, was not fired after that season, but continued to lose in the playoffs in the divisional round. Like, he never was able to get past the divisional round. And then in 2020, this year, he was also added as the GM and head coach as well, and then did that very highly criticized trade of DeAndre Hopkins, and then goes the rest of the year out of job, and then gets the most easiest caked up job in the world as the offensive coordinator for Alabama. This man ain't got to do a darn thing. Like, Alabama has already built up their program to where everybody who is anybody, especially if it's receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, they all want to play at Bama because they see what these guys go on. In the last couple of years, Bama's had 3 Heisman Trophy winners. First one started with Mark Ingram, and then Derrick Henry, and then now this year with Smith. And the easiest, it's like literally the easiest job you can be handed for free, and Bill O'Brien gets it? Like, how does this happen? How are there so many qualified Black coaches that are in this league and currently not in the league anymore that don't get opportunities? Raheem Morris, what he was able to do with the Falcons after the fact of the Falcons having a terrible start, when he had to step in as head coach for the rest of the season, and then the Falcons owner is talking about, well, if he wins all the games, if he wins the next 12 games, we'll hire him as head coach. But then Bill O'Brien gets this offensive coordinator job, which we know he'll probably spend a year or 2 in. And then because Alabama will continue winning, because they've already had that program set up and recruiting is cake over there, he is going to be put in another situation where now he is going to be able to become a head coach of a team again. Mind you, we look at other guys like Lovie Smith. I always talk about Lovie Smith because he is one of my favorite coaches. He took a terrible offensive Chicago Bears team that had Rex Grossman at quarterback and took that team to a Super Bowl where they played in the Super Bowl against the Colts, which was the first Super Bowl that had two black head coaches playing against each other. And then year later, my man goes 10-6, has a 10-6 record, and gets fired as head coach, and then ends up at some BS random college to coach football there. But Bill O'Brien does the most horrific trade that we have seen in modern day football, and this man gets to get the glory job that is the offensive coordinator of Alabama, the national championship winning Alabama squad. I am so beyond and so confused how Bill O'Brien can get a job like this. Jackie, I'm going to go to you. What are your thoughts? We've both been very critical of Bill O'Brien and his stint with the Houston Texans and how he kind of just tore this team just down. Even though he was handed a really good team, he was handed a winning team and was not able to capitalize on how good and how many great moments that team had, and then destroys what their offense could have been this season, and now gets the offensive coordinating job with the #1 college football program. What are your thoughts on this?
I would bet my last dollar that when he got that job, sorry, crazy echo. That they probably told him, just don't touch anything. Your job is to just kind of let your assistants do what they do. Don't touch anything. This is probably one of those situations where this is definitely a level of privilege, because he's probably got a friend of a friend who knew somebody, and they were like, hey, we can get you in here. We're already a smooth sailing. We're a well-oiled machine. We do what we do. All you have to do is come in here and just supervise, make sure people clock in and clock out and do what they're supposed to do. This is definitely, I'm not saying he should not get a job anywhere else again ever, but maybe the high school level, because he needs to relearn some things. You don't have one of the best receivers in the league and then you go, oh, we don't need him. And for Alabama to crank out the amount of talent that they do, and you bring in a guy who clearly has a problem utilizing and hanging on to talent, I can't make this make sense unless it's like I said, he has a friend of a friend who just was like, come in, this is your desk, close that door and don't touch anything. I mean, aside from that, I don't know how. But if we hear a story next season of like, oh, Bill O'Brien missed an opportunity to get this kid, that kid, then now we can say, okay, now he's just being Bill O'Brien. But otherwise, I'm positive they told him, congratulations on this job, don't touch anything.
And this is the moments we're talking about, because even Joe Judge, who did end up having a decent season, he was never even a coordinator ever on defensive wise. He was a quarterback coach, and then ends up getting the situation where he becomes a head coach over other qualified candidates who have actually been at least coordinators before. So this is like another one of those moments where I'm like, oh, of course, just like we talked about it with Steve Nash, of course give him the job where he already has originally what it looked like was a good place to be, because you already have two stars that are coming back. You got to just sit. The team already did decent last season without Kevin Durant or Kyrie in the lineup, and then add them to it. Cake, easy job. Little did Steve Nash know that it's now probably going to be the biggest crap show. But it's just so unfair to continue to see white coaches get put into these positions where they're not doing anything, but then they get this victory after, oh, we're giving this person an opportunity now because look what they just did with this Bam. The Bam is already good. All you got to do, like you said, is not mess it up. Don't mess it up. Don't touch anything, and then your in is good, and now you get this advantage over other coaches because now you were the offensive coordinator at Bama. If they win a championship, the next couple years, now you are a national championship winning coach. But you didn't do anything.
Meanwhile,
you're just giving opportunities.
Meanwhile, Bill Bieniemy can't get a job as a head coach. He's interviewed at countless places. And even Patrick Mahomes said, he was like, if they don't give him a job, it's crazy. And then I read an article just before the show that was saying, I believe it was the Eagles that interviewed him, and they were like, oh, well, yeah, but we're not going to consider him because the Chiefs are still in the run in contention for the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, make that make sense for me. Because he's successful at what he's doing and has a team that's going to continue to have this longevity, you're not going to consider him for a head coach. You know what I mean? You can paint it however you want, but what it looks like is he's got the wrong hue is what it looks like. Right.
Make it make sense. And speaking of Hugh Jackson is another coach that really got fired having a winning season, you know? So like, I just want us to, whatever, congrats Bill O'Brien on your job, whatever, but like, there were other candidates that were way more deserving of that job that could have actually, you know, done something great with that program. But if in a couple years, Bill O'Brien gets another head coaching job in the NFL because he just won a championship at Alabama, let's just remember this moment. It is not because Bill O'Brien is this great coach. It is because he got a free pass. I'm just pointing that out. That's all I want to say there. But that's Britt's take for today. Remember, you guys, fan or foe tomorrow. Same time during Britt's take. It will replace it. It is going to be great. We're so excited to start this segment with you guys.
Yes.
Yay! Can't wait for that. That'll be a fun way to wrap up the week. All right, you guys. Well, let's wrap up this show. Subscribe to our channel. Tap the bell for notifications. Give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment below. Share it with your friends. Wash your hands. Wear a mask. And we will see you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.